all cells and actually prevent viruses, bacteria, and other enemy cells from entering a healthy cell by blocking the entrance to the cell's surface. Glycoforms can hold on to an enemy cell until an immune system cell can arrive to destroy it. Healthy immune system cells can also accurately identify normal cells and not interfere with their function. Cells covered with glycoforms enable clear and accurate cell-to-cell and system-to-system communication, creating an information superhighway within the body. Glycoforms play a vital role in every human physiological process: immune system response, tissue regeneration, cell replication, growth, and structural stability. They are even responsible for the attraction of sperm cells to an egg cell surface to foster fertilization.
When a cell does not receive the nutrition it needs, it cannot produce energy, and it really loses its function. Healthy cells don't function optimally without glyconutrients. That's all there is to it.
We now know how important these 8 sugars are to human health. The problem is, only 2, glucose and galactose, are readily available in our modern diets. A fraction of these other 6 sugars can be gotten through diet, but modern agricultural methods, food processing, widespread use of toxic pesticides and chemical fertilizers have all but eliminated them from our food supply.
It's only really been since a little before World War II that what we now call conventional methods, that's fertilizer and pesticides, even came into being. What was conventional farming for thousands of years, we're calling alternative farming and organic farming, and what we're calling conventional is actually a new experiment.
The connection of healthy soil to healthy plants and to healthy people cannot be underestimated.
Most farmers don't use organic fertilizer because of the economics. The government farm programs reward the use of conventional fertilizers. And then also many farmers grow for big agribusiness companies.
When you're dealing in mega farms, the ideal crop is to pick the entire crop one day, get the pickers out of the field, get the money out, plow it down and put another crop in. That's like the perfect scenario. Crops are selected for uniform maturity and the ability to harvest quicker than they should. And that makes a huge difference in the protein content and the nutrient content.
Optimally, you want the fruits and vegetables to stay on the vine or on the tree or on the plant for as long as possible, because in those last few days before ripening is when the essential sugars are brought to the fruit or vegetable.
Everything that is not picked at its peak, everything that is shipped any length of time begins to lose its nutritional value. The nutrients actually start to oxidize. And once a vegetable turns a little brown or it's rusting, then it's going to cause free radical damage in your body.
In addition, if something comes from a very long distance, it can have bacteria on it that your body is unfamiliar with.
Generally speaking, the organic produce is much healthier, has a higher nutrient rate than the commercially grown vegetable.
This whole thing of organic versus conventional, there's so few people that eat organic.
I would say the American public is absolutely eating a diet that is slowly killing them.
95% of the fruits and vegetables that are grown in America are conventional, which means that only a few people are eating organic foods.
What I have my patients do is eat as many fruits and vegetables as you can, wash them, and assume that you're getting about 1/3 of their phytonutrient value.
I compared the USDA Bulletin on Nutritional Content of Food from 1982 with what their statistics are for 1999. I was amazed at the nutrient decline in many fruits and vegetables. Overall, it was an average 25% decline in nutrition across the board. That is staggering. It's shocking. If we are losing 25% of our nutritional content in 20 years, what are we going to have in 20 years from now and 20 years down the road? Pretty soon we're going to be eating water and a little fiber, and that's going to be it.
The body, to an extent, can make glyconutrients. That's the job of the liver. However, that is an emergency mechanism. When we're making our own glyconutrients, it's basically a state of starvation.
If you don't have enough of the right type of sugars, you have faulty processing. With the faulty processing, things can go wrong.
Without vital sugars and a variety of other micronutrients, cells cannot create glycoforms. The result is a breakdown in cellular communication and immune system response. Depleted cells are unable to defend themselves effectively, so cell structures can be damaged and are not effective in healing and regenerating. In this weakened state, cells cannot communicate effectively, compromising the body's ability to identify problems. They are also unable to destroy pathogens such as viruses, bacteria, and fungi, and cannot identify mutated cells so the immune system can eliminate them. For example, when a person suffers from an autoimmune disorder, their compromised immune system may respond inappropriately and treat altered normal cells as intruders and destroy them. It may allow mutated cells to proliferate, or the immune system may not respond at all, leaving the body extremely vulnerable to many types of infectious agents.
Because they're not getting everything they need from their diet, people are doing one of two things. The first thing they do is nothing, and many people are ending up with chronic diseases, or they're getting sick more often. Their health is somehow degraded as a result. And other people are using supplements, including supplements of sugars.
We need to eat the right foods to make the right structures to have optimal health. There's a break in the link here because we can't get that food anymore in today's modern diet. Therefore, there's a need to supplement with a type of nutrient called a glyconutrient.
It started with a businessman.
In August 1985, pharmacologist Bill McAnally came to my office at Dallas-Fort Worth Medical Center asking me to do some research. They had a line of products using the gel of the aloe leaf, and they had had 8 patients with AIDS contact them with a similar brief story saying I was incapacitated, couldn't go to work, couldn't go to school. Someone influenced them to drink this aloe juice, and they let them know that they were back at work or in school feeling much better and thought they would want to know. They got me to look at this. What happened surprised me. 14 patients in 90 days had a 71% improvement in their objective clinical and laboratory findings. We could show in tissue culture and in animals that the active ingredient was a mannose sugar in chains called polymannose. We found out that this had antiviral activity and could protect cell lines from herpes virus, rhinotracheotis virus, measles virus, and eventually the AIDS virus. For me, it was an epiphany and awakening in observing the AIDS patients and how problems beyond their AIDS responded. That's what drove us out of the drug paradigm, basically one drug, one disease. That the only way this was possible is through nutrition, supporting the programs of life.
From this discovery, the first monosaccharide-based glyconutrient supplements were developed.
When I first learned about these glyconutrients, the concept made sense to me, but I was very skeptical about using them. It seemed like there were a lot of people making claims that it could help with all different sorts of health conditions. And anytime I see that, I throw my hands up and I say, that this can't be true. The big shift for me was seeing how many different countries were researching this. The University of Oxford have their own glycobiology institute where they were studying this as early as the late 1980s. Countries all over the world, Japan, Germany, Switzerland, Finland, New Zealand, Australia, were looking at these nutrients and their clinical application, as well as in the United States at Johns Hopkins, MIT, University of California, Irvine. Once I realized how crucial these supplements are for human health, I felt compelled to offer them to my patients in my practice.
We, by doing this, are not treating the patient. All we're doing is returning to the diet what has been lost over the decades.
This helps the body correct cellular dysfunction, and it gives the body a chance to heal and repair.
While I was in the hospital, the only relief I was getting was from narcotics, which is something you don't want to stay on anyway.
What's interesting about Nancy's case is here's a young woman on all sorts of different medication to control this problem and that problem, and still was declining rapidly.
I had a good friend stop by and visit, and she brought me some glyconutrients, and she just said, I want you to try this for me. I think it's going to really help you. And at that point, when you're feeling really bad and what have you got to lose, I was like, sure, I'll try anything if you think it's really going to help.
A lady from East Berlin, Pennsylvania, sent me some information on glyconutrients. I just put it on my desk and I kind of ignored it. I thought I found about the best that's out there, and anything else that's out there is not worth looking at. I finally did some research on it, and I discovered that this is different from anything else. So I had myself released from the hospital without any further treatments. I started on a glyconutritional program big time.
Around that time when I was feeling very desperate and just hoping for some kind of answer, I came to meet Dr. Willen.
We worked together with different nutrients, probably the best part of a year until I learned about the glyconutrients, and then he was one of the first people that I decided to recommend glyconutrients to.
Dr. Willen gave me this tape of this doctor that had had an aneurysm and had been introduced to this glyconutrient. And he said, you gotta listen to this. And I came to the office the next day, I'm like, okay, Doug, I need to get these. I need to get these in my system because this might be what I'm looking for.
When I started with the patients with the most serious health challenges that I wouldn't be able to help previously, the results that started coming in were amazing. We started to see real changes in their health. Symptoms started to fade away. Lab results started to come back positive. We just started to see people gain their health back.
I could notice small things that were changing very slowly. Within months, I had my strength back. When I first came home from the hospital, I was hardly able to breathe. I'd walk a little fast and I'd lose my breath. That all passed away. I have no problem going up and down the steps now.
I went ahead and decided to start taking it, and I took it twice a day, and I was completely, within 3 weeks, pain-free from everything. No more coronary spasms, not one more migraine. Haven't had any since.
I took some of these glyconutrients, and then all of a sudden, 20 minutes later, the right side of my body gets like flush red. And my first thought was, oh my God, I'm having a different kind of seizure, something else is happening.
In Kevin's case, he responded fairly quickly. But this was unusual because most people take time for the healing process to unfold.
So he was just like, why don't you go for a walk around the block and see how you feel? And I'm like, I don't know what's happening, but something is changing. And from then on, it was like this ongoing process of things just changing for me completely.
Within a week, and it was 2 weeks, you sit down and you think, wow, I haven't had a headache. And then when I would smell bleach or whatever, the initial fear would hit me, and I would start to get that feeling, and then it would dissipate. It never progressed anywhere. And to this day, I haven't had a